Hey everybody, welcome back to Living Traditions Homestead. Well, I am in the kitchen today because I want to teach you guys how to make what I think is probably the most delicious thing I have ever made out of quail eggs. Now, before we even start, I want to tell you, you can use this same recipe with other types of eggs. I like to use it with quail eggs for a couple reasons though. One, because they're small, and if I just have a lot of them in the refrigerator, I can grab a handful and just kind of eat them like a snack. And two, because the quail are so prolific in their laying that most of the year I just have way more quail eggs than I know what to do with. And this is a great way to use up a lot of them all at once. What we're going to be making today is salty smoked quail eggs. They are so delicious, so easy to make, and I know that you're going to absolutely love them. So what we're going to do today is we're going to go step by step. We're going to walk through the process. It's actually pretty darn easy. And at the end, you're going to see this awesome snack. So I've already had my quail eggs here soaking in cold water in the refrigerator for about 30 to 40 minutes, which is exactly what you want to do so that they will peel well. Now we're going to put them into a strainer basket, take them over to the stove, and get them boiling. So I've got about 100 quail eggs here, maybe more like 110 quail eggs. So we've got a lot of them to do here today. I am going to be using my automatic quail egg peeler again. I've showed you guys that in the past, but I'll show you that again today because if you're raising quail and you get a lot of eggs, it is definitely worth the investment. We're going to try to be a little bit careful putting these into the basket so they don't crack too much, but ultimately some of them do crack while you're boiling them, and that's not that big of a deal. Alright, let's head over to the stove so we can get these boiling. Alright, I've already got my water coming to a rolling boil, so I'm going to take my eggs and I'm going to put them down in the water. It'll probably cool the water off a little bit because they've been in the refrigerator. And what we're going to do is we are going to stir these eggs constantly for about 5 minutes. What that does is that centers the yolk inside of the egg. Same thing with chicken eggs. When you boil chicken eggs, you can do the same thing, and that will center the yolk inside of the egg. That way when you peel them, the yolk will be in the center, and even if you get a little of the white that comes off with the shell, you won't be exposing the yolk. So we're just going to keep boiling these. I'm going to set a timer for 5 minutes. After we're done stirring them, we're going to boil them for another 5 to 7 minutes after that. We want these to be boiled quite hard. I've always done quail eggs that way. I know a lot of you say you don't, you do them for only about 5 minutes total. I have found that with quail eggs, if you boil them for 10 to 12 minutes, they peel much, much easier. So I'm going to stir these for 5, and then we're going to set that timer for another 5, and then we'll be ready to move on to the next step. Alright, my timer just went off that the eggs are done boiling, so let's go ahead and get them off the stove. So they've been boiling for about 11 minutes total. Now what I like to do, the next step, is I like to just set them down in the sink and run some cold water over them. And then what we're going to do is we're going to put them into a bowl of ice water, and we're going to let them in the ice water for about an hour to an hour and a half until they're completely cooled off all the way through. I just like to do this step. You don't absolutely have to do this step, but if you put them right from the boiling water into the ice water, most of the ice melts. This way, it just cools them down a little bit before you put it in the ice water. Alright, now that those are a little bit cooled off, I've already got my bowl here with ice water in it. We're just gonna, I guess I can probably dump these. Alright, so we're gonna let these in the ice water. I'm gonna put them back in the refrigerator for about an hour to an hour and a half. One thing that I have learned though is that if you leave them in the ice water for too long, like sometimes I've just gotten busy and left them in for 3 or 4 hours, it almost seems like they make them a little soft or mushy. So I try to limit it to an hour and a half tops, just to make sure that they're good and cool, but that they're not in there too long. All right, I'll see you back in an hour and a half. Well, it's been about an hour and a half since we put our hard-boiled eggs into the refrigerator. They are completely cooled off. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take them back out of the ice water. And I'll put them back in the metal pot that we boiled them in. There's no water in there anymore. I took the boiling water out. But I'll show you in a second why we want them back in this pot. Now this, you can do all of this up till now, even if you don't have the automatic egg peeler. And it's going to make peeling your quail eggs so much easier. So what we're going to do is we're going to put the cover back on here. And now that we have those in there, we're just going to shake this and we're going to break all of the shells up so that they're really broken up on the outsides of the eggs. And now we can use our automatic egg peeler to peel these eggs. It's a real easy, simple machine, but it works really, really well as long as you follow all of the instructions. It's made by a company called Weaver. You can order this just on Amazon. And basically all it is a motor over here and then two little rollers that have like a rubber coating on them. And that's what actually removes the peels from the eggs. So you just turn it on. And you can see those two rollers kind of move around there. They spin in opposite directions. And then we'll take 2 or 3 of our quail eggs. We set them on there. Tap them. And just like that, it pulls the peels completely off the eggs. And you guys, this is so much faster than peeling quail eggs by hand. And it does a really good job. Again, as long as you follow all of those instructions and boil them long enough so that they're not soft, and as long as you really break them up well, and as long as they're good and cold when you're actually doing the peeling. I have very few, when I do this, I have very few eggs that don't come out perfectly. In fact, Sarah went to a party, a birthday party a few weeks ago, and wanted to take quail egg, deviled eggs. And so she needed them to be perfect. And by using this automatic peeler, she was able to take several dozen, I think like 4 dozen of them, and not a single one wasn't peeled perfectly. Now, if you raise quail and you've had to peel, 100 quail eggs, you know what a time saver this machine is. It used to be, when we had a lot of eggs like this to peel, we would be like, well, let's turn on a movie or something and start peeling eggs, because that's how long it was going to take, like an hour and a half or 2 hours to get, 100 eggs peeled. Now, it's literally like 10 minutes to get 100 eggs peeled. So I'm going to go through and I'm going to just get all of these peeled. And as soon as they're peeled, we'll move on to the next step. All right, I've got all of the eggs peeled. Out of all of these eggs, which I think was about 110 eggs, 3 of them did not peel perfectly. So I think that's pretty awesome. So after you peel them with that automatic peeler, there is quite a bit of just tiny little pieces of shell from shaking them up in that pot. So the way that I like to do that is I just bring them over here under the faucet. I fill this bowl pretty much full of water. And if you just kind of shake them around in the water and then let them sit for a minute, pretty much all of the shell will sink to the bottom of the bowl. Except for that one little piece right there. And that will clean them off. So we'll do that. I'm just going to make sure all of these are good and clean, and then we're just going to put them into a gallon jar so we can brine them. So we've got all of our eggs, made almost a half-gallon container of eggs here. So now we are going to make a brine so that we can brine these to get them to be nice and salty. So the way that we're going to do that is a very basic brine recipe. This is actually the same brine recipe that I use when I smoke turkey or smoke chicken, anything like that. It's very simple. For every 4 cups of water that you use, you're going to use a quarter of a cup of kosher salt and a quarter of a cup of brown sugar. Now, in our case, because we eat a keto diet, we don't eat sugar, so I'm using a sugar alternative called Swerve. This is erythritol, which is a natural sugar alcohol. It's a plant-based sugar alternative. It doesn't have the effects on your blood sugar like white table sugar or brown sugar does. So if you're keto, this is a way to make this recipe keto. If you're not and you want to just use regular brown sugar, use regular brown sugar. The nice thing about this Swerve product is that it measures cup for cup just like brown sugar. So for every 4 cups of water, we're going to use a quarter cup brown sugar and a quarter cup kosher salt. And this Swerve, we actually buy this on Amazon. It's not available here locally where we live, but we buy it on Amazon, so we'll try to leave a link in our Amazon shop so you guys can check that out. They have a brown sugar alternative, a white sugar alternative, so it's a good thing to have on hand. So a quarter cup of the brown sugar, and then a quarter cup of kosher salt. We're just going to stir that up. Once that is fully dissolved, we'll add it to our eggs. If we need a little bit more, we'll just make a little bit more, make our adjustments on our measurements. Our salt and sugar is dissolved, so we're going to add this to the eggs. Hopefully without making a big mess all over the counter. Hey, I think that's perfect. All right, so like I said, now we're going to put these in the refrigerator for about 2 hours. At about an hour and a half, I'll probably get the smoker set up, and then we'll be able to get these on the smoker. Well, it's been about an hour and a half or so that the eggs have been brining, so it's time to get the smoker set up and ready for smoking these eggs. So I'm using a pellet smoker, but you can use any kind of smoker that you want. If you don't have a smoker, you could even just use a grill, as long as you can keep it on a very low heat, and then use one of these smoker tubes. I use this even with my pellet smoker because it gives a lot more smoke flavor. But basically what these pellet tubes do is they just create a ton of smoke for, just a couple hours. So what you'll do is, if you get one of these, even if you don't have a pellet smoker, you will need smoker pellets, and you can buy these right at Walmart or whatever. For this case, because I know this is only gonna need a couple hours worth of smoke, I'm gonna fill this up about halfway. So you put your smoker pellets inside of this tube, and then basically we're just gonna light the top of this on fire and let it burn for a while. Then we'll blow it out, and then they'll just kind of smolder inside of your smoker, and that will give you a lot of smoke flavor. Let me get these started, and then we'll actually get the smoker turned on as well. For our pellet smoker, we're going to have that set at 165 degrees, and then we're going to smoke them for about 2 hours. Okay, so the smoker tube has been smoldering for about 5 minutes now. I blew the flames out, and what we're going to do now is we're going to put this inside of our smoker. On my smoker, because it vents out the back and at the bottom, I put it toward the front because it kind of circulates around before it goes out the back. So I like to put it right there at the front. So we're going to cover that up, and that's going to give us a ton of smoky flavor inside of the smoker. Let's head back into the kitchen. We need to get the eggs, drain the brine off of them, and then we'll bring them out and get them on the smoker. So here's our eggs. They've been brining for just about 2 hours, maybe just a little bit over 2 hours actually. So what we're going to do is I'm going to just use a strainer here. We're just going to strain all of the brine off of them. And they haven't really changed much in the way they look right now. but all of that saltiness and just a tiny bit of sweet from the brown sugar is going to be in those eggs. We're going to put them on the smoker, and that is going to just, I don't know, there's something about brining them. Let me tell you a quick story. I started experimenting with making these, I don't know, a month or so ago, maybe a couple months ago. And at first I was just hard boiling them and putting them on the smoker. And they were pretty good, but they always just seemed like they were lacking something. As I was eating them, a lot of times I'd put a little salt on them, and I thought, oh, well, that makes them taste even better. And then one day Sarah and I were sitting around, and I thought, you know, we always brine chicken and other meats before we smoke it. What if I brined the eggs before I smoke those too? So I did, and you guys, that is what just made these so amazing. They just turned out so much better, and everybody who comes over when I make these now, they just can't stop eating them. So I hope you guys will give this a try. All right, let's take these out to the smoker, get these on the smoker. Again, we're going to smoke these at 165 degrees for 2 hours. All right, so our smoker is going. I'm actually going to take the top rack out here. I should have done that originally. Luckily, we're not doing this at a very hot temperature, so it doesn't really matter. And I'm going to just pour some of these eggs. I've got these grates, mesh grates on here that I use for a lot of different things. Now we're just going to put our eggs here, make sure they're all in a single layer. Now if you're going to be doing this with chicken eggs or bigger types of eggs other than quail eggs, you might need to adjust some of your times. Like you might need to brine them a little longer, and you might need to smoke them a little longer. You'll just need to decide that for yourself based on how they look and how they taste. So I'm going to close this up. We are just going to simply leave this for the next 2 hours, and then we'll come back and check on them. All right, it's been 2 hours that the eggs have been on the smoker, so it is time to take them off. Let's open up the smoker and see how they look. All right, I'm going to put them in a bowl. I think I can pick these trays up without burning myself. Look how amazing those look. Let's take them in the house and give them a try. Just look at the golden goodness of those with the smoke on there. All right, let's give one a try. You guys, they are so good. They're like the perfect amount of salt. You know when you're craving a snack? When you're craving a snack, there's either two things you're craving, sweet or salty. These are the perfect amount of saltiness. If you like smoked, like a smoked turkey drumstick or smoked chicken or something like that, you are absolutely going to love these. They are just the perfect snack. I hope you give them a try. If you don't have quail eggs, again, use another kind of egg. Use chicken eggs. Just adjust your time a little bit and maybe brine them a little longer and maybe smoke them a little longer. But you will not be sorry, I promise. So, let me know if you have other creative things that you do with quail eggs or hard-boiled eggs in general. Let me know. I'd love to find out more things to do. But by far, I think this is the best thing that I have made with quail eggs so far. I absolutely love them. I hope you give them a try. If you're enjoying videos like this, I hope that you'll hit that subscribe button before you leave. Don't forget that, as always, the absolute best way you can help us here on our channel is just to share our videos on your social media so others can find them and enjoy them as well. Until next time, thank you so much for stopping by our homestead. Take care, and God bless.